Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Tonight's video will be entitled Liberation from Linguistics. And of course, I'm referring to applied linguistics. I'm making this video after doing two videos on Massachusetts Institute of Technology Weapons Foundry, um, Noam Chomsky, whose entire career was funded and financed by weapons to kill people, confuse them, pacify, and control them. That's Noam Chomsky. He is the face of fascism, militarized fascism. That's what he is. He engages in gibberish, the intellectual dwarfism, the senile dementia of the doctorate programs of universities in this world. You can clearly see now that the people that are pimped out by social media and mainstream media, pimped out and promoted as intellectuals, the fact is they're pseudo intellectuals, they're mental midgets. Jennifer Doudna, Jamie Kate, Joy Weiss, Christopher Pister, Rachel Horowitz, Victor Davis Hanson, Jeffrey Sachs. These are some of the dumbest people on the planet Earth. They're dumber than dumb. They have no street smarts. They have no intellectual integrity. They're all engaged in pacification control of the masses, the sheep, the slaves, the prisoners. Now, to the extent that they don't understand what they're doing, it's possible. They're pretty stupid people. I mean, Victor Davis Hanson is supposed to be a raisin farmer, but he spends all his time with free housing on the Stanford campus, directly across the street from the largest private banking criminals in the world: Sequoia Capital, Kleiner Perkins, Excel KKR, Breyer Capital, Jim Breyer. We've got a trail of corn of dead corpses from the Stanford University right under the nose of Victor Davis Hanson. How dumb do you have to be? How dumb do you have to be? Your neighbors with Sam Bankman Fried and his parents, who are law professors at Stanford Law School, and you don't know that Elizabeth Holmes was financed and funded right across the street, as was Samuel Bankman French Fried, financed by Doug Leone at Sequoia Capital. You are dumber than dumb. So, what I'm going to tell you today, people, is to ignore anyone that has a PhD, just shutter them. And you can include all professional credentials now are suspect. All right. Because we are living in the age of mendacity. All right. Everything is the metaverse. Metaverse means it's the inverse of reality. Everything's a simulation. We're in a simulation. So this whole concept that I came up with today is built upon the clay foundation of Noam Chomsky and his applied linguistics, where everything that comes out of his pie hole is misdirection, counterintelligence. Liberation theology is where this video was born. And this came up during the 1960s, really emanates from Latin America, and it led to Vatican Council in Rome, where this concept of liberalization theology, a Christian construct, was a new approach to emphasize the liberation of the oppressed. Did you hear what I said? This liberation theology is having to do with expansion of freedom to make the tent larger instead of the haves and have-nots, to create a bigger tent. You heard that in politics, where they want to have a bigger tent and greater inclusion. Okay, hold on to your wallet, hold on to your personal liberties. Whenever someone wants to invite you into a big tent and into a big church or into a big corporation, you know that your freedoms are going out the rear door, right? That is a felony uh, conversion of your property and your rights. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of sexual freedom, freedom of your own thoughts go out the window when you're included into a big tent. The term originated among Latin American Catholic theologians in the 1960s, and it has increasingly been used to describe similar approaches in other parts of our world. It often engages in socioeconomic analyses to justify or emphasize social justice and social concern for those who are marginalized due to their social class, their race, ethnicity, gender, LBGT rights, Rainbow Coalition, etc. It's even roped in Daniel Ellsberg, who brought you the Pentagon Papers, other fraudulent concept. Liberation theologies were first discussed in Latin America context, especially within Catholicism after the Second Vatican Council. Their liberation theology became a political tool and was used by a number of Jesuits and other Catholic priests who popularized a phrase known as preferential option for the poor. Let me paraphrase. The option for the poor is simply an idea that, as reflected in canon law, quote, the Christian faithful are also obligated to promote social justice and mindful of the precept of the Lord to assist the poor, end quote. It indicates that there's an obligation on the part of those who would call themselves Christian, and first and foremost, to take care of the poor and the vulnerable, right? Have we heard this before, right? Remember the American Bar Association in Chicago, they preach pro bono work as an ethical construct that is a tenet of their belief system. However, my uncle became in charge of the ethics department at the American Bar Association in the 1970s, and he learned that pro bono was just a slogan, it was a sales slogan, and that all the large national and international law firms put their least experienced people to help the poor, and they minimize the hours. They use bloated hourly rates to create an inflated dollar value of the pro bono work. But they use every trick in the book to underserve those that cannot afford to pay the law fees of a big corporate owned fascist attorney law firm. Law firms are fascist. All the large law firms of the land function under maritime law, secrecy, and private oaths, omerta codes, codes of silence. They are mafia. The Chicago outfit best describes the American Bar Association. They are part of the Chicago outfit, which if you're a paid member, do stay tuned because Jennifer Small and I are going to feature at least a half a dozen videos regarding expose on the history, what is known as the Chicago outfit. And we're going to talk about Al Capone and his limo driver, Frank Nitti, who assumed his position, and then later Tony the Big Tuna Arcardo. We're going to talk about Sam Giancana, Tony Spilatro, and we're going to talk about other important people like Johnny Roselli, for example, or Richard Kane and his infiltration into the Chicago Police Detectives Division. We're going to talk about quite a few things, including Paul Marcinkus, who went from Cicero, Illinois, Chicago, to Rome, Italy, to become the president of the Vatican Bank. Right. And that's going to entangle, of course, Michele Sindona and Roberto Calvi and Paul Castellano in Staten Island, New York. So the tentacles of the Chicago outfit are also involved in this liberation theology business, believe it or not. Because, you know, most of the Sicilian mob bosses were all Roman Catholics, right? Of course they were. And they were good Catholics. And they baptized their children into the Catholic Church, as good Christians do. Now, did they help the poor? I don't know. I think that's a subject for some debate. They certainly gave employment opportunities to to ghetto people that didn't graduate from university and perhaps didn't even graduate from high school. So there certainly were job opportunities within the mafia in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Miami, and all the places the Chicago outfit sent their soldiers after training them. All right, so liberation theology is this concept of freeing the poor from their shackles and giving them more opportunities, which I think the mafia did that more than the law firms of Chicago did. All right, what I wanted to tell you is today this concept has morphed because we are going to the AI, right? Everyone's talking about the artificial intelligence, right? That's where we're going. But the thing is that we're morphing from what is called liberation theology, which is promoted in the mid 1960s, and helpful slogans by the United Nations like "End World Hunger" and "Make Poverty History." These were global campaigns, which all failed, right? And when COVID came along, there's no more discussion of hunger. I mean, one way to cure hunger is just to murder hundreds of millions of people and use a eugenics program to get rid of people. Then you get rid of world hunger, right? Get rid of world pandemics too, right? Anyway, it's turned the definition from liberal theology to liberal technology, the liberation of technology or liberalization technology. Problem is here, people, juxtaposition channel, we have learned that everything's inverted. And so when we talk about liberation technology, you're talking about enslavement, techno-enslavement. Let me give you some specific examples. So people like Jennifer Doudna and people like Noam Chomsky and people like Jamie Kate and people like Victor Davis Hanson or Jeffrey Sachs or Anthony Napolitano, they might tell you that possessing a real ID and having your eyeball recognition and your thumbprint on biometrics filing will allow you the freedom of entering a courthouse, serving in jury duty, enabling you to vote in a democratic republic. It would enable you to enter a grocery store and buy some bubble gum. It could enable you to enter a dry cleaners to drop your laundry off. It could allow you to put gasoline in your car, a real ID verification. Could allow you to subscribe to the Juxtaposition channel on Substack. Could do that, right? Real ID verified. It could allow you to transfer money from your banking app on your cell phone, right? As part of your digital passport, your COVID vaccination status will be logged in along with your real ID, verified social security number, tax information. That this allows all the freedom to function in a civilized society. That's what the PhDs will tell you. But juxtaposition will tell you that will enslave you because once you turn over your real ID biometrics and you take all the bird flu vaccine, monkeypox, Omicron variants of COVID, the annual flu shot, and your body is strongly tethered to the cloud, to the HAL 9000, which will determine your social credit and your social obedience. That your freedom, your liberation can be terminated without notice. You can call a helpline and you can go pound sand. But when you surrender your liberty to the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and Swiss Bank Authority, you're taking a short boat to a cremation oven. You're going to end up in a concentration camp. Donald Trump will call it a freedom city. Kamala Harris will call it a liberty city. And Juxtaposition calls it a FEMA cremation facility. Processing center where you'll be harvested like Bessie the cow, then terminated in your 7th year of milking to be sent off to a cremation oven. Milk cows live 7 years. The cow could live 26 years, but your milk harvest will decline after your 7th year. So they send you to the ovens or turn you into hamburger meat, right? All right. So anyway, we're leaving the mega world of technology and we're entering the nano world, the nanoscience world. A nanobot is 1/1 billionth of a meter. A meter is approximately 36 inches. So just imagine 1/1 billionth of 36 inches. And that's where we're going. In other words, smaller than your microscope can see and smaller than your immune system can react to. Nanobot particles. All right. And this is going to change every element in the periodic table. When you shrink things down to nano size, you change the properties of those things. You can turn rice hulls and rice husks into lithium gases. rice into lithium. You got that? Anyway, that's the concept of liberation, where you're freeing inert particles and using them into weapon systems, right? And what I'm saying is when you hear liberalization theology morphing into liberation technology, you should run for your life. It's the enslavement of the real ID. It's the social credit score, right? It's the ability for the state, the government, meaning Swiss Bank Authority, to be able to delete you, to delete your birth certificate, to delete your death certificate as if you never existed. We have that ability right now. Liberation technology refers to tools and platforms that empower individuals and communities to achieve greater freedoms, enabling them to express their opinion, mobilize protests, and challenge oppressive system. Are you kidding me? It does just the reverse. Look at how COVID was handled at YouTube. It was handled by deletion and censorship and an appeals process that was a joke. All right. Liberalization technology promotes censorship and deletion and reduces freedom and will get you arrested as being a domestic terrorist should you try to mobilize a peaceful protest. You'll be treated just like the people who protested at University of California, Berkeley back in the 1960s, where they were they were demonized as peace rioters, peace riots in Berkeley, when they were just protesting mandatory conscription, which would probably lead to service in the Vietnam War to kill innocent people. Definition of purpose of liberation technology. Let me read on. Liberation technology encompasses various digital tools such as the internet, mobile telephones, and that facilitate communication, organization, and activism. These technologies will enable citizens to express their opinion, mobilize protests, and express their freedoms in the face of authoritative regimes. The problem is the entire network, the nodes on the network, are controlled by the authoritative military of NATO. So you cannot express your opinion or freedom on a military platform without censorship involved. Obviously, it's their communication system. They control the radio. They can, like the Twilight Zone, right? You remember the Outer Limits theme song? We control the vertical, we control the horizontal, we control the volume, we control the picture. They can go from a soft blur to a crisp, accurate picture. Do you trust your military? Do you trust NATO? Do you trust Larry Ratfink, the director of the World Economic Forum? Do you trust Klaus Schwab? Did you trust Benito Mussolini? Do you trust Noam Chomsky? He looks a lot like Benito Mussolini, and he talks a lot like Benito Mussolini. Noam Chomsky could be the reincarnation of Benito Mussolini. He also kind of sounds like Augusto Pinochet, don't you think? Anyway, the primary goal of liberation technology is to combat social and political and economic injustices by providing individuals with the means to assert their rights and influence. BS. They want to sign you up, get your real ID verified, which they're going to make a condition to using their system, and use it against you. Because if you express your freedom and it is a dissent or disagreement with the national narrative, then you will be arrested and put into a cremation oven, or you will be sent to a re-education camp and given electroshock treatments on a hourly basis. Anyway, they have a whole list of features, of attributes of what's called technology liberation: enhancing communication, facilitating organization, promoting transparency when it does the reverse of that, building solidarity when it creates chaos and confusion and division, and encouraging participation. Well, that it definitely does, because all the children today are playing video games on their phones, which is enslaving them into this system of techno-enslavement, which the PhDs are going to tell you it's liberation technology, and juxtaposition is saying, no, 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 no. It's techno-enslavement. That's what Real ID Verified is. So that's what Noam Chomsky is. That's what Jennifer Doudna is. That's what CRISPR Therapeutics is. That's what smart dust is. That's what mesogens, MIMS, and MIMOs are. They are techno enslavement tools. That's what Joy Weiss stands for of MIT. That's what Christopher Pister stands for of Cal Berkeley, PhD. That's what Jamie Kate stands for, Yale University, and director of the Innovative Genomics Institute at Cal Berkeley. That's what all of these going to the AI pimps are. They're all pimps for techno enslavement. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my video today. Do like and share my videos because you might not be surprised to know, but in this innovative internet of the military system, I am heavily shadow banned. Take care and do become a paid member. We'll talk soon. Bye now.